wait. You have no profit, but you're having the Christmas party. I don't, that's, and they're like, I know, but if I don't have it, I'm afraid they'll leave me. It took me 20-something years to get to $1 million, and now you're telling me I grew $250,000, $500,000 in a few years? What's that about? I'll only go in business with you if it could be a benefits-driven company for the team, because I have people who are working for me now 18 years, and they have nothing at the end of 18 years.
Zenoti presents Growth Diaries, the fascinating stories behind the best brands in beauty, wellness, and fitness. Hosted by Sudheer Koneru.
What makes a salon truly unforgettable? For Luca, it's the perfect blend of artistry, personal connection, and exceptional guest experiences. With nearly 50 years of experience as a hairdresser, Luca has dedicated his career to elevating the salon industry. Before co-founding Pyure Salons with his business partner Ilan, Luca successfully owned and operated his own salon for 25 years, understanding the power of a hairstylist. Shortly after launching Pyure Salons, Luca partnered with Aveda, transforming Pyure into an Aveda concept salon. Inspired by Aveda's commitment to giving back to the community and caring for the environment, Luca embraced a mission-driven approach to salon management. Luca's contribution to the industry have not gone unnoticed. In 2025, he was honored with the prestigious Aveda Lifetime Achievement Award and featured in Modern Salon for his visionary leadership. His philosophy, centered on delivering value to every guest every day, has fostered a culture of motivation, passion, and personal connection at Pyure Salons. So, thank you, Luca, for making the time to come and join me at Growth Diaries. Okay, cool. Luca, so I've obviously had the opportunity to even visit your stores and seen how,
Sneakily.
Yeah, sneakily, okay.
Okay, I don't know if that's a word, but you snuck in there.
Yes, and met some employees who've been around with you for a long time. And I know you've been in the industry for a long time, but not just in terms of as doing Pyure Salon, and but just being a leader in the industry and just behind Aveda Business College. But I want to first start with what happened before you started Pyure Salon, and how did it come about to say, okay, you and Ilan get together and do this?
So I'm celebrating 50 years as a hairdresser this year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know. As great as that feels and sounds, it's also scary that it's 50 years behind you, And so I had a salon for 25 years, but I had no business background when I did it. I was a hairdresser. I worked at a salon for 5 years, and then my cousin offered to help me get started in a business. And I didn't grow up with those kind of opportunities. So, both parents worked, middle class, So when the opportunity came, I said, this is not going to come around that often. Let me take it. And I took it. But the catch was it had to be in Florida, not New York, because that's where he was moving his family. And he figured if I moved there, the rest of the family would follow. So I said, okay. So I did that. And it's kind of funny because, I opened the business with personality. Like, I knew how to do hair. I knew how to gather people together. It's always been a forte of mine, bringing people together. And so, you could recruit guests by doing good hair, and you could bring a team together because you know how to bring people together. That was my formula. And I always used to say to my parents after that, growing up, I was like, why didn't you send me to school? And they were like, because you wanted to go to hairdressing school. And I said, but you should have said, okay, but go learn business first, and then so you could own a salon one day. So it was all, live and learn. There was no, and back then, if you think about it, I'm going back 35, 45 years ago, There was no business education. There was no internet. There was no way to get the education. I didn't know what other people were doing, what numbers were. We worked on delivering good hair and being kind to people. That was our experience back then.
Yeah.
Although it's a fraction of what the experience is today, right?
And I think in those days, there wasn't as much investment by consumers in terms of how much they spend on how they look and feel and all that stuff compared to today. So it was a much earlier stage of the industry.
95% of the recruitment came from a guest stopping somebody in a supermarket or a movie theater and asking them, where do you get your hair done?
Yeah.
And that's how we did it. There was no marketing tools. They had the full page ads that you would put in a magazine for $2,500, and you got one haircut out of it. Because what the consumer do is they cut that out and brought them to their hairdresser.
Yeah.
So that made no sense, right?
Yeah.
So it's a totally different world today.
So it's the whole referral world, word of mouth, where, having a great, and I'm sure that's what you're good at, and knowing you, talking to people and getting them to bring their friends, family into the salon is the cheapest way to, keep growing your business kind of thing. Cool.
So I did that, and my business was 25 years old. I would say around 22 years, it was $1 million business, 950 in service and 50 in retail. That's what my business was. And I was proud of that, but it was a 24-year-old business.
That's a big business in those days. So.
And then I got involved with Aveda. And Alon had his salon and I had my salon. And I used to go to Aveda and bring back some information and say, you know what? We never looked at like this thing called pre-booking, like let's have and so him and I would like contest against each other, and we would call each other at the end of the week or at the end of the month. How'd you do? How'd you do? How'd you do? And we would compete almost, and then all of a sudden I grew $200,000 in 1 year. I was like, whoa, what is this about? 2 years I grew $500,000. So I was like, it took me 20-something years to get to $1 million, and now you're telling me I grew $250,000, $500,000 in a few years? What's that about? So then I felt it was almost bittersweet because it was like, oh, this is awesome. But then where the hell have I been for the last 20-something years? And where would I have been if I knew this stuff back then? So I was almost pissed off, and that pissed off made me get like out there. And I grabbed as much of it as I possibly can. And that's when I started getting involved with Aveda Business College. And at that same time, Alon said, we should do something together. And I was like, I can't do it with the current state. It has to be new. And he's like, why? And I was like, because it's a different culture. These people are with me 15, 16, 18 years. They're not going to adapt to a new culture. The new culture has to be all about the team. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I'll only go in business with you if it could be a benefits-driven company for the team, because I have people who are working for me now 18 years and they have nothing at the end of 18 years. What do they have? They don't even have health insurance. So if we're going to open a business together, I want health insurance, I want PTO, I want bonus structures. I want to run it like a company so that people well, it's not only that they'll want to stay working for us, but they'll have no choice to go anywhere else. And that's what we got together in 2006. And that's when the magic happened. Him and I just had like this great marriage, right? I'm most certainly with him more than I'm with my wife. So it better be a good marriage, right? And what I love about it is he supports, because I could get a little crazy with stuff. And he's a lot calmer than me, but he supports my craziness. He gives me the freedom to do the stuff that I want to do, which is really makes, I think, a good partnership. And so we opened in 2006 with one location, and we're like, okay, this is going to be good. Let's sign a lease for a second one. And you know what? They started knocking on our doors to open a third one. And so, okay, the first one just came out of the ground, but we had 2 more leases. And then we hit the financial crisis in 2008. Oh. As the second one just opened and the third one, they just broke ground. And then the housing, the financial, all that. But again, my partner, although I'm the, let me say, I don't want to say I'm the creative one, but I'm the one that's out there, like I'm the revenue driven guy. He's the financial guy.
Yes.
At least he was back then. He monitored expenses and he got us through those tough times. I remember I'd come to work and I'd be like, where are the tip envelopes? Oh, Alon took them away. We don't have them anymore. What? Yeah, we can't afford those right now. I'm like, okay. I need a Post-it. No, we don't have Post-its anymore. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, is this like rationed here? I feel like I'm in the depression. But we came out of it strong and we didn't have any default. And so I credit him for that because I would have been spending, I would have had the tip envelopes and the Post-its, right? I like to save face a little bit. So the business was, and that's what we've grown since then. And then being with Aveda Business College, I started learning the numbers. I started learning what other salons were doing, what their best practices were. And it became very easy for me to share that data with people and that information because I saw what it did for my business, right? When you grow now, all of a sudden, like, oh, we grew $1 million last year. $1 million? It took me 23 years to get to $1 million. And now you're telling me we're doing it in a year?
Yeah.
Again, pissed off.
Yeah. But then I think, like today when we had Dave Mortensen speak, I admire him because he's so present to his abilities and or lack thereof. I think I hope you realize that, you made a lot of 50,000, 500,000 in 1 year, 2 years, and you're looking at it, wow, and you're getting pissed off. What was I doing so many years? But your immediate instinct was, I want to help others kind of stuff, because this means there's a lot of things to do. And I think it's your inner nature looks like when you discover something, you want others to experience it too, whatever you've discovered. And
it's true though, because what happens is as I started going out and teaching and people would be in the audience and they would ask questions and I would ask them a question and I'd be like, what do you mean you have no profit? Like, why are you doing this? Well, it's like I care about my team, my girls are this. And I'm like, okay. And then like an hour later in the class, you'd be like, so we're having this big Christmas party, and and I'm like, wait. You have no profit for you having the Christmas party. And they're like, I know, but if I don't have it, I'm afraid they'll leave me. And so then I started learning about people feeling captive by their teams. And so I tried to like get them out of that thought process. Like, no, what happened to your vision? What happened to the goals of your life? Like, I remember there was one time many, many years ago, I turned to my mom and I said, do you think I was just put on this earth to give people jobs? Because that's how I felt, because I didn't see the profit that I see today, And when I started with Aveda Business College, the national average profit was 2.5%. And the goal of Aveda Business College was to try to get people to 10% profit, which was very difficult. Because they already, remember, their payrolls are already set up. They're already giving 50 and 60% away. If you're giving that away, how are you going to end up with a profit? Right? And so I started looking at that. Today, I have 14.5% profit.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you've seen the spectrum of journey from people just getting by in the salon industry to, of course, and interesting that even as you were doing Aveda, there are people, I think there are still people in the industry who actually have a tough time making profits, but they kind of are in the space and they're just getting by, though they're running pretty good businesses in terms of revenue.
So what they've done is they've created a job for themselves. So they're a boss, I mean? They're their own boss. They don't have to work for somebody, but they're also like, they would fare better if they worked for me.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm advocating for. I'm advocating for them to get their ducks in line so that they got the same profit. But, most salon owners that I come across out there care so much about their team that they in lieu of that, they give up their profits to keep people happy. And we have to be careful. I learned that, we can make people really happy and give them a lot of stuff as long as the money came from something to do that.
Yes.
So I can't give a bonus away or like even something as simple as a snack kitchen unless the profits are there to do that. That's all. I'll give you an example of that. So a few years ago, I started the snack kitchen. I was like, okay, we're going to have bins in the kitchens. And anytime you're in the mood for a snack, you go back there and you just have a snack. Because we know what it's like. You're grinding all day. Right? Okay. And then one month I was like, wow, retail sales have dipped there. What are they doing? I didn't order snacks that month. Boss, we didn't get the snacks. Team, I didn't get the revenue from retail. That's what pays for the snacks. You get it? Boom, sales went up again next following month.
Nice.
So the team needs to understand that there's no money tree. I'm not taking it out of my salary. It has to come from production. I'm generous.
Yeah. That's very good advice for people, because I think many people, as you said, get scared with their staff. I can't retain. I think just being honest and upfront about where you are and where's the business and can we afford it or not is probably, I think, genuineness and authenticity pace kind of thing.
And I've always been very transparent with numbers with my team. Like the first meeting of the year, we break them down of all the numbers from the previous year. Yes, because they know we did $7.5 million. You know what they think? Well, I got paid $100,000. Luca must have gotten paid 10 million or 5 million or 3 million or whatever. I was like, no. So I have to explain to them that, yes, 7.5 came in, but 7,299,000 went out.
Yeah.
And I show them line by line how much went in bonuses, how much went in salary, how much went in the snack kitchen, how much went. You show them all that and you grind it down, and I could grind it down to zero, you know.
Yeah.
Right? But they do get to then learn. You know, sometimes I get worried, am I making them too smart? But I would rather that. Sometimes I'll say to my team, you know what, you need to add more time. Oh, you need to add more hours. You need to add more. You have an abundance of people who want more of you. You know what they say to me? But you taught me to work smarter, not harder. It's like, oh my God, can I reverse that?
But I think being transparent with employees is the right thing. Even at Zenoti, we are completely transparent. A lot of software companies will never share a lot of details about the business because they're afraid they'll go tell the competition or something. We just tell everyone all the metrics, whatever our investors see, our employees see as well, kind of thing.
Do you know that was one of the things that I had brought up to Zenoti when we made the switch, is that like my team likes to see everybody on the team's numbers, not just their own. They want to see your number in cross locations.
Yes.
They chase each other all the time. That's why they love the leaderboard.
Yes.
Because they get to see who's the top three, who's the top three, who's the top three. Okay?
I know.
But that's a good thing.
If you're enjoying the show, we would really appreciate it if you left us a review on Apple Podcasts. It only takes a minute and it helps others find the podcast. You can also follow along on YouTube and Spotify so you never miss an episode. Great. So that's good in terms of hearing the story and why you started and the passion with people. But when I visited you, and I think, you've also shared with me, you have people who probably never left you, as we were discussing. They're just been working with you for such a long time. I think hearing some color around, why do people just stay with you for that long? Why don't they just go? Because I'm sure they're very good with working with you. Go do some, what do you think are the reasons
it's
people
funny
stay?
Because we talked about that on the panel a little today, because and I don't mean to sound cocky, because I'm not a cocky person, but it could sound cocky when I say people don't leave me because there's no place to go. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I don't say that like I said, when I got together with Alon in 2006, it was about, this has to be an employee benefits driven company. However we get there. And so, we're family. Yeah, we're tight. Yeah, we're all, and we do things. But like, it's kind of funny. We just did Aveda Congress. We did the stage, right? And afterwards, one of the president of Aveda, Florida, came over to me and said, your group, you and Alon, are the only two people out of the 2 days of all the performers that didn't go on stage yourself. It was only about your team. That's what we set out to do, to elevate the team, because that's my machinery. That's my work. I don't manufacture anything, right? That's my machinery. So when you talk about machines, you talk about well-oiled machines, making sure your machines are working properly. That's my staff.
Yeah.
So I have to keep them happy. I have to keep them benefits driven. I have to make sure I coach them on buying a house all the time, on buying a car, not renting a car, on taking a beautiful vacation with their family, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever you need. Like, that's the stuff that has to take place. They have to be executives in their 5x5 platform.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, because the manner, when you said they have nowhere else to go also, the manner of transparency with which you run the business, they have complete transparency around their earnings potential and how much they're making and how it's working out for them. Okay, I can go somewhere else, but you're not going to make anything more. Is there some format that I'm missing here? I think so. That's, I think, the transparency and empowering them in terms of their career with all this Aveda education and all that is.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we've never lost somebody. I mean, listen, I'm in business 45 years.
Yeah.
But in the past 20, I could say no one's ever left us and went across the street. They've left the industry.
Yeah.
They've moved away and they still do hair and we still have relationships with them. But you can't leave us and get what you have. And I think we've also, it's a very open dialogue all the time. Also, one of the things I learned in 15 years ago is people support what they help to create. And I always make them part of the process. So, yeah, do we want a price increase? Okay, we're having a meeting with the whole team and we're going to break up into groups and you're going to tell me how much the price increase is going to go. So do your research. You're going to tell me how it's going to roll out. And now I may have an idea and I may want to manipulate it a little bit, but I'm going to take their advice because if they tell me we should only raise it this much and it should start on the 1st and it should be rolled out with a sign on every station and we should celebrate it with balloons, and I'm going to do that because you know why? They bought that. See, so I don't have to convince them of supporting it.
Yeah.
So I like getting them involved in the process all the time. That's what keeps our culture really strong.
That's generally, of course, a basic principle which many people may not apply it in salons, but big businesses say you make sure the actual people come up with the ideas and they feel they created it because now it's their baby and not yours.
Right.
If it's your baby, they don't care. They're just going to leave any given day. So that's a good strategy. I think even salon owners should follow when they're making changes. Don't just put changes in front of them. Let them propose. And at the end, as you said, you can ask a few questions and manipulate it to where you wanted it. But at the end, they feel they created it. Kind of stuff.
If I just going to make the changes myself, I could send them an email.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't need to bring people together for that.
That's true. That's a good point. Cool. It's, I think, takes presence of mind to make sure they're always doing that, because it's always tempting in a busy time and salon owners just to make decisions and send email and tell people what it is.
Yeah.
Cool. One of the other things I wanted to learn from you, and I think since you've been in this space for 50 years, a lot would have changed in how clients engage, how you engage with clients, how you provide services. You know, in earlier days, it was probably different. Today, there is a younger generation. What kind of evolution have you seen in the space of actually the service delivery itself? Has it evolved in some fashion? I'm just curious.
I don't think the service has evolved at all. I really don't. I think unless it's just because that's how I've taught them, so they're doing it what I did, right? I don't know, but I don't believe that. I think that a bob is a bob is a bob. And what I think has changed, which I don't like, if I could say, is their perspective of the client or the guest. Like, for example, and we were talking about this at lunch today, when I was in my 20s and my 30s, and even in my 40s, when I had a responsibility to those clients. I remember working with the flu because it's a holiday weekend. Are they going on vacation? Is there a wedding they have this weekend? Like, what are their plans? I have a responsibility to deliver everything that's on my book this week. I could crash on Sunday and like stay under the covers and leave me alone till Tuesday, but I got to get through Saturday because I don't know. My team today does not have that at all. They have no responsibility, and I don't know who's going to be listening to this, but I wish they cared more about that. But today they have no problem calling in sick with a pimple on their nose. You with me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going in today. I'm not feeling well. What does that mean? What about the 9 people that are on your book that have prepared for this, planned for it? And maybe took a day off from work or hired babysitters or whatever it is. So when that change started happening, I started looking at my business as, how do I make it people more comfortable with just anybody else. And so I had to train the mentality culture-wise with the team to start thinking of an open chair policy that if I can't get in with you for whatever reason, it's best for you that your guests go to someone else two chairs down rather than 2 blocks down.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Yes.
So I had to get that mentality as part of the culture. And so my team is very comfortable with their guests going to other people. I'm not comfortable with it because I look at it as, you're okay with that? I mean, I'm okay. I make the same money, but I don't get how you're okay leaving 3 hours early today and just saying, can you move my guests over?
It's like, I think the Mark Sanford who was talking about in the morning, the Fred factor. He says, treat everyone as your friend. They may not be your friends, but if you think of them as your friends, you're not going to leave them high and dry. You're just going to say, hey, if Luca's coming to town and I said I'll have a drink with you, even if something's going on, I'll have to make the time. There's, whereas if it's some anonymous person, you'll always...
but again, I even think, like he talked about, treat them as if it's your friend, right? Because if I'm thinking about them as my friend, I'm going to treat them just differently.
Yes.
But I think they treat their friends differently today than they did 25 years ago. We, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like they have no problem blowing their friend off today.
That probably is true.
Yeah.
So
I don't think the cuts, the colors, the trends, those are all, the operation is the same.
Cool.
It's the responsibility. I don't know if even that's the right word. I don't know. It's the responsibility that I have for these people, that have dedicated their time to me.
That's good insight, and maybe that's where you addressed it by, doing this open chair policy and all that. But I wonder if there's other ways to educate people that this is a personal relationships industry. What kind of maybe it's hard, they're not going to change even if you try to educate people about behavior principles.
And listen, not everybody is set to be a business owner, but the coaching I have to do is things like, can I take off Saturday? Okay, of course you're entitled, you have days off coming, but can I ask why? There's a Lady Gaga concert. Lady Gaga concert on Saturday. At what time? Well, we have to be there around 5. Why? She's not coming on till 9. I know that. Lady Gaga is not going on at 5 o'clock. So why can't you work and go after work? Again, I come from a mentality where I want to go to Florida for the weekend when I worked in New York. Guess what? I left Saturday night at 9 o'clock after my last guest. And I came back Monday morning.
Yeah.
So what's this? I have a concert and I want to take off with $1,000 on the book. Are you okay with that?
Cool. So switching gears, another thing I'm curious to hear from you is, because you were referencing how marketing in the early days, how you got customers and all that. I'm curious, how have you seen the spectrum of marketing evolve? And because you must have kept up to date about saying, okay, I have to keep evolving with times kind of thing. So what have you seen in that area?
Yeah, so I think that I had a hard time adapting to social media as the primary source of recruitment. I had a hard time with that because it was hard for me to see the ROI. It was hard for me to document it. I didn't know. It was very easy the other way. Oh, I was recommended by so-and-so. Oh, I stopped somebody in public. So we could track that. I couldn't track social media people. I didn't know how valuable it was. And I've had team members convince me that, like, my clientele is built on this. But it was very hard for me. And again, there's that Instagram, Facebook argument, right? Like the team wants nothing to do with Facebook because it's old people. But like, if you listen to the marketing experts, that's where all the money's sitting. So where do you go with that? Like, I have to convince my 20 and 30-year-olds, Instagram is the swipe by and let's look at this real fast. Facebook is, okay, I want to know more about these people. It's a different demographic. And so I had to, so social media is it. And like I said, I never thought of my software that way until I met you, because you pointed that out to me. that my software is not working for me. And so when I think about that, like, how could that happen now? Not even thinking about AI, so I sell AI to me right now is like social media was
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yes.
So I have to wrap myself around that now.
Yes, yes. Cool. That's good. And then in terms of coming back, one of the things I do think it has helped with your staff is also the transparency on leaderboards and knowing where they are. Because I think people love businesses which are very transparent because you're not hiding it and it makes them very competitive and all that. But when you go to Aveda Business College and, you've obviously been spending a lot of time doing all these, you said there's been a year where you've been on the road 42 weekends and doing that takes an incredible amount of passion because you could be spending those 42 weekends sitting and improving your business and making more money and you're forfeiting all that and going and helping others. So how is it that, in what way were you attracted to this whole thing to say, you're seeing the impact, I want to go back and keep doing this?
Again, for me, it was the amount of revenue we grew in such a short amount of time and the profit growing in percentage. And then when I go out and I teach and I hear the woes of people and the struggles that people have, it really upsets me because it's almost like, you have frizzy hair, I have the answer to that, right? You have diabetes, I have the answer to that. But you have deficit in revenue, I have the answer for that. And so how do we get people to they hear it, but some of the challenges is like, oh, I've learned it, I've heard it, I've seen it with you. Now I got to go back to the team. Aveda Business College, when we did something called benchmarking for success, and it was for salon owners, and it changed everybody's lives, right? But I fought for a class called benchmarking for team because I knew that the owners couldn't go back and get their teams enrolled in the stuff we were teaching them. So I said, if they can't do it, then we got to do it. And I got pushback from a lot of the leaders because they were like, no, the expression, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him how to fish and feed him for a lifetime. I said, but we've been teaching them how to fish for 10 years now, and they're still not getting the results. So then we started going in and having these team classes, and then they would be, oh yeah, and grow their companies through their teams. So
that means you're bringing the whole team, some of the team members, not just the owners, to the table.
Yeah, actually, when we did the team classes, I don't even want the owners in there because they have all the answers and they're going to tell you no, stay out of here. I want your teams to hear it. Again, let them cultivate what we're teaching them so that they go back. Because how I always presented it is, this has nothing to do with the salon. This is about you individually and your growth. You could do this anywhere, right? Cool. But you choose this salon, so let me help you how to get from this to this.
So then that's really good advice for most people who are salon owners out there. Rather than thinking they have to go for training. Of course they can go, but they need to plan for their teams to get business training and understand what it means to make more money and more profits. And I think most people focus their team's training only on technical stuff, how to cut hair, how to color, and okay, you shut up, you go do your work, I'm going to run the business.
Right.
I think you're flipping that by saying, no, the team needs to go to business college.
Exactly. Like I'm doing a class in a few weeks at Phoenix. We have almost 80 people in that class, so those are all team members. But I taught the class for the owners 6 months ago. So now this will back up the support to the owners, which I think is a good tool.
Cool. Even honestly, I didn't internalize that, this notion of business education for teams. So I'm learning that from you. Though I've been in the industry for a while, I always keep thinking business education is for the owners. And even we at Zenoti should think about how do we do that for the teams.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Because again, any support a salon owner can get from the market leaders and the brand leaders, if you could come in, anything that you could do with my team. I mean, we've had a lesson with somebody from your company. We did it by Zoom, and she taught them a few things, and they absorbed that.
Cool.
Because I can't say what you could say in your field.
Yeah, agreed. So another area I have questioned, because you've been in the industry for so long, you must have seen evolution of products being used for 50 years. There were certain products, I'm sure, earlier. Today you use different products. And along the way, you've been a big ardent fan of Aveda, looks like. But what has the evolution been in your view, and any from a product perspective?
So listen, I choose Aveda because I do believe it's product performance. Okay. If it didn't perform, but I do have to tell you, when I came on board, it was not a product performance. I became a concept salon solely Aveda with, I think, 7 products that they had, 8 products.
So you must have been very early then in the...
Very early. But I'm 37 years with Aveda.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what happened was a friend of mine gave me a package of Aveda products and said, try this. And he said, I think this product is you. And I used it and I was like, why do you think this is me? He's like, I don't know, it's all natural. It's like, all natural. I live on Diet Pepsi and licorice. My drug of choice is aerosol deodorant, nothing to do with the environment. Why would you think this is me? Try it. So I tried it. It was shampoo and conditioner. Big deal. I had multi-brands at the time. So I put it on my shelf. But then when I went and saw them in person, and I saw him cutting hair on stage, Horst, and he started talking, and he was talking about something bigger than products. He was very philosophical, and he talked about community, care, bringing people together, the environment. And I started thinking about all that, and I was like, he started talking about exclusivity, like not having distributors come in and knocking on your door with the product of the week, because every week they came in with a new package of 12 with 3 free, right? And I started listening to it, and I was like, I want to be a part of something bigger. And so I took on the brand before the brand was the brand. It was very, very, very small. Mm-hmm. And we grew it to 750 SKUs. Boy, I wish I knew that back then. I would have thought differently, right? But yeah, we went from 7 or 8 products to 750 over the decades. So the product performance came, but it most certainly was there. And remember something, we had 5 shampoos, a conditioner, and a very wet hairspray called Witch Hazel, wet. And I'm in South Florida with 90% humidity, where we were using an aerosol hairspray, right? Go back to the 80s.
Yes.
And now I'm introducing my clientele to a wet, pumped hairspray. They wanted to lynch me. They hated it. But when I'm on something, I stay on it, and I persevere through it. And we became a concept salon very shortly after that. And I only carried Aveda products.
Cool. And in the industry today, for salon owners, in terms of product choices, any guidance, advice, and what kind of products work well for consumers, for guests, and all that? Because I honestly, I'm not as familiar, so I'm just curiously asking.
I don't know what the ratio of it all is, but I can tell you something like this. By being exclusive, so I'm sold on exclusivity. So if you're going to tell me you're a L'Oreal brand or you're a Goldwell brand, I say go exclusive, right? Why carry 3 or 4 different brands when I have to take a guest on a journey of retail?
Yeah.
And if I take her on this domain and talk about, this brand, and then I have to take you on this, like, why am I choosing this over this? So then she's going to ask that question. So I have to take it here and take it there. It's shampoo and conditioner.
Yeah.
If we're going to wash your hair, we're going to clean your hair, right? Why do I need to take you through an hour of whatever? So I do know that the power is in the hairstylist. I had a friend who managed the Aveda store. They used to have these brick and mortar stores in the malls, and it was in my town. And he was a friend of mine, and I used to go there and I say, man, you're so lucky. The customer who comes into your store here is coming in for a product. The customer who comes into my store is coming in for a service, and we have to layer that product on that. So it's a lot of work. And you know what he said to me? You would think that, but I'll spend 30 minutes with somebody, and the last thing they say to me is, let me ask my hairdresser if this is the right thing for me.
Yes.
So I was like, okay,
Obviously, because your hairdresser has so much access to your hair and has spent a whole hour, and they probably know, so you'll trust them more than anything
Exactly.
else.
So the products today versus the products of 20 years have evolved so much because we can treat things differently. We can treat frizzy hair, we can treat volume, we can treat, you know, hair color is just like completely changed what we do. Remember, we used to put it in a bottle, put some developer, shake it up and stick it on your roots. I mean, my grandmother could have done that, right? Because there was really very little in formulation. But today it's like a chef. It's like cooking. It's like a dab of this and a dab of that and a touch of this. And what do I need to enhance and what do I need to diminish? And I could do that with a color line today.
Cool. What do you think about the idea that somebody had presented today on the stage, which is he presented for skincare, saying, I'll merge retail and professional. I'll have these big pumps of product out front. You bring your own thing and you fill the shampoo and take it home. That's the same shampoo I just used. You liked it? Let's go fill some for you and you can take it home.
I don't know why, but I felt like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'd have to research it, isn't that illegal? In the sense of we can't really dram in something and then charge them for it. I can give them free samples, but I can't take empty cubes, fill it up, close it up and charge you for that. I don't think that's legal.
I think the people were looking at the, what is it, soap company, where you get soap in the malls. I forget, you can cut a piece of the soap and take it Lush. Lush.
Right.
Yeah.
But are they paying for that or is it a sample?
I should check. Good
I'm
question.
just curious because I do remember, because I wanted to give out, like when things would first come out in a brand and a product, I wanted to pump it out and sell it to people because the retail didn't come out yet, but we had it in back bar. Like, no, we can't do that. You can give it away, but you can't sell it.
Cool. So coming to retail, what else do you do? I mean, we talked about, of course, sharing the numbers and making sure people know when retail is down. Hey guys, we are down, and the snack bar is gone, kind of thing. But other than that, how have you used what strategies to drive retail sales and get your stuff to be? Because a lot of stylists do hesitate to sell, from what I know in other stores that I've visited.
So we have a service wheel, and we have to hit all 10 points of that wheel, right? So it's about the welcome, it's about the consultation, it's about the hand massage, the neck, scalp, shoulder massage. It's about, and retail is a portion of that. We have a basket program in the salon where what's supposed to take place is you take a basket and everything that was used on the guest today is supposed to go in that basket. And how we explain it to a guest is, listen, we have 750 products up front. It could be very overwhelming because in the front of every one of my salons is a Aveda store.
Yeah.
And so that could be overwhelming unless you know exactly what you want. So we ask that you put everything in the basket and create a store just for her or him.
Wow.
So you don't have to buy any of this today, but I just want to let you know that everything that was used on you and every time you come in, this will be created for you so you can shop from this. And so that's kind of what we do. Now, if a product is not in a basket and a service provider goes and takes it off the shelf and puts it on the counter, this is for Mrs. Smith, that gets rung up under house. They don't get credit for that because it was not in a basket.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Nice. So we also, it's not a punishment, but there's a behavior that's attached to everything that we do. And the behavior is what's monitored. And so the behavior is things need to go in a basket.
Actually, I like that idea. I mean, I haven't experienced that as a customer going into salons, the places where they, bringing everything. But once I went to a skincare place, one of our customers, and I got a facial done, and they were like very clear in explaining what they used. And she convinced me to buy a couple of those products because, she was very crisp and this is what I did here, this is what I did here, and these things. So I said, okay, fine. She's being very educative and I but so I think that strategy works, I think. So
I think there's a fine line between sales and education.
Yeah.
I think if a guest feels like you care about them, and this is for their benefit, and it doesn't behoove you whether they buy it or not, it behooves them, then I think it's okay. I think when somebody feels sales, they kind of back off. Like it's a bit of a turn off. So I tell my team, I want you to do it with every guest. I don't really care if you have 0 sales at the end of the day. I'll reward you.
Yeah.
It's not about how much was sold. It's about did every guest get that experience.
Get education around it. Cool.
We can't make we body slam the guests. Give me a checkbook. I want you to give me a credit card. I want you to pay for that. No, if they want it, they'll buy it. If they don't, I don't know people's situations.
Cool. So you've been in, I have some personal, it's unrelated to salon question now, right? So you've been around and seen so many companies come and go.
Keep reminding me of how old I am, but keep going.
I know.
You keep.
Sorry, but you've been doing this like it's like
you want to put the sand thing and turn it upside down right in front of me. I know there's more sand on the bottom than on the top.
I admire that kind of stuff more than anything else because some of us maybe it's not like I'm young. I've been doing different kinds of things, and you've been very committed to your passion, and it's rare somebody's committed to their passion for the time that you've been. So. But is there, not necessarily in our space alone, is there a company that you have admired or learned from in the past growing up in your career?
Like not in our industry?
It could be any company.
I'm fascinated with the hotel industry, with hospitality in the hotel. I'm fascinated that people will pay $2,000 or $3,000 for a hotel room and be unconscious 80% of the time they're in it. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go to Aspen for a fundraiser, and the fundraiser at the St. Regis, and it's $2,400 a night. Now, I know I'm going to leave in the morning. I'll get back for dinner to change. I'll be out again. I'll be back at 11 p.m. and my wife and I will go to bed. $2,400. Like, how do they get away with it, and why will people do that? What's the value there? See, I'm always looking for value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your hair's going to be $300, but you're going to feel like it was $500 worth of stuff. So how do you get me to spend $2,400 when I'm going to be unconscious 80% of the time?
Yeah.
How do you get me to spend $2,400 on that and make me feel like it was valuable? And I can't figure that out. So I'm always like intrigued on that. Right?
Cool. That's interesting. That's definitely true. I mean, they do try to brand it, I guess, in terms of service caliber, certain experience or eliteness, or I don't know.
I'm unconscious.
Yeah, I know.
I can still hang out in the lobby. I can stay at the hotel across the street and hang out in the lobby and feel that same thing.
I know. But if you're Bill Gates, I guess it's like, it's like 2 cents for him, maybe $2,500, but as for us, it's $2,500.
Yes, and it's not, but you want to know what I've learned? Like, listen, it's not that rich people spend the most money. So that's another thing. And like I come from an affluent area in South Florida. I'm from Boca Raton.
Yeah.
So it's very affluent there, and people have a lot of money. But like, I'll give you examples. I've had people who are multi-millionaires. And at the holiday time, they come in with a box of chocolates. And then I have a teacher who comes in that sends in a buffet spread at Christmas time for the team. And it's like, they always want to see, what's the rich one going to be bringing? What's the rich one going to be doing? It's not always the better prize. So how people spend their money there's no formula on that. No, you can opinionate, but there is definitely no formula. I've seen working girls come in and give me their credit card for $400 services. And I've seen very, very wealthy people come in and bitch about a $60 haircut price, right? So
if you're enjoying the show, we would really appreciate it if you left us a review on Apple Podcasts. It only takes a minute and it helps others find the podcast. You can also follow along on YouTube and Spotify so you never miss an episode. Yeah, something for everybody to be aware of, cognizant of, that don't assume it's what determines why people spend the money.
Yeah, so that's the stuff that I'm intrigued about. So when you talk about companies, I'll look at hotel industry, I'll be like, wow, why would somebody spend that much money? So what's making them do that? And painlessly, and and you can't even tell me that it's reward points, because you need 1 million reward points a night for those numbers, So it's like, why do people what makes people spend the money they do? Like, how do they, what's the perceived value? And how do we get into people's perceived value?
So you spend time making sure people feel great when they walk out, and you've personally done that, I'm sure, and your teams do that. What do you do to make sure you are feeling great and you're for your own wellness?
Wellness, retail therapy. We spend a lot of money. My wife and I spend a lot of money on retail therapy.
Yes.
It makes us feel good. I don't know why, but it makes us feel good. And again, talk about I talk about perceived value. So like my brother like loves going to Michelin star restaurants. He'll go and spend $800 on a meal, right? I'm like, that meal is out of you by tomorrow morning. What are you taking with that? Take me to Prada, take me to Gucci. I have shoes. You got nothing the next day. I got a pair of shoes.
Yes.
So I'll spend that kind of money on, that's what I value. I'll spend that kind of money on, sitting on first class in an airplane to me at this stage of my life. But to spend money on that kind of food, like I like food. You can see I'm not, I'm not by any chance missing calories here. I love food, but my value isn't like spending a fortune on that. So when you look at a guest coming in, so for example, I have to think about it. When I created Pyure, I was thinking about, okay, how do we satisfy the masses? Because I don't want to just do rich people, and I just don't want to do people who could afford $500. So we created a level system where you can get a haircut for $50 or you can get a haircut for $150, right? So we can satisfy more people in that sense. But yet then with that system, I see people come in like, I want the top colorist. I'll spend $500, but I want the newbie for the haircut. Okay, and then I have the opposite. I want the best hair cutter, but give me the cheapest colorist. So I see that all the time. I see a woman come in and go to the least expensive hair cutter for herself, but put her child, her 8-year-old, in a $150 haircut. No, so I don't question it, but I'd love to know why.
It looks like one advice for most people is, being constantly curious about things that are new, which is what you are. You're constantly curious and questioning various businesses and how people make decisions as consumers, I think.
But don't we have to look at that so that we can make, we could change the trajectory of what we're on right now so that we can satisfy that?
I agree.
So the more I learn about stuff like that, the more I can alter my own business for that.
So you've seen various ways to manage your business. You're particular about metrics, numbers, people having transparency. Of course, that's a part of technology, but what have you seen as the role of technology and why it's important for other salon owners?
So I saw what you've taught me very recently and what we've actually adopted in Aveda Business College is the Book Now button. Like we have it everywhere now. We didn't have it anywhere, but because of Zenoti, we couldn't do online booking before you. So now that we have Zenoti, it's really the only platform that satisfies my online booking because we're specialized. And so you ask the right questions. And so it's not always 100% right, but I got the guest in. There's that new guest that's on the book. It's wrong, but they're going to call her up and fix it. But at least she's in. She would not have been in if we didn't have that. So I'm very aware of the financial piece there. But I do think that like technology has to help the experience be a little bit more seamless. Now, I don't think that technology is going to replace humans. I don't want it to, because if it's going to do that, then there's no need for the company. That almost like supports booth renters.
Yes.
Right? So I don't want my hospitality team, my guest services to be eliminated. I want them always to be there to remind the guests it's about Pyure, right? But we could take some stuff away from them with AI. We can implement these Book Now buttons everywhere. It's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on our website now. Anything that's going to drive revenue, but yet help us to be a better experience is what I'm in for. The one thing that makes me nervous, like social media did decades ago, is AI, because sometimes I don't like it myself as a customer. I was telling a story today on the panel that, were you in the panel?
No.
No. Okay. So I told the story today that I had an Orlando reservation for when we just did a thing up there, and I was at Hyatt, and I wanted to change something on my reservation. So I called and I got the AI guy. Well, first of all, I didn't know it was AI because he sounded very, and only until I asked a couple of questions, I was like, oh, okay, that's an AI guy. So I said, can I have a representative? Of course you can, but before you do that, let me see if I can help you first. But no, I really would rather. I understand that, but so he wouldn't let me go for any reason whatsoever. So I played the game with him. And then finally, he got me to a representative. So I was like, okay, I don't want that for my business.
Yeah.
Then I went to the hotel and I checked in. And at 1 a.m., the fire alarm went off. I was like, is this real or not real? You know, the alarm in the room and all that. I opened my door. People are in the halls. I'm like, is this, I don't know. Okay. So I go to the phone and let me call downstairs and see if this is for real. And I get that same guy. I was like, I'm in the house. Why is there AI in the house? Isn't there anybody downstairs at the desk? And he wanted to take me through the whole, so I could help. I was like, is there a fire? I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand. Am I on fire? Am I going to die? Are you the last mother effer that I'm going to listen to before I die? So that's what I don't want. So I think that when we do set up, or I have to be very aware of, I think we have to let people know early on, like, if you want this, this is where we're going to go. But if you don't, push one real fast.
Yes. I think you do incorporate AI in a way that, you know, it's acceptable. And when it's not, it's very easy to exit out of it. So even in Zoom, it's like when we do any time they say, can I speak to a person? Boom, it should go after the person, because don't challenge the guy. Kind of.
Yeah. And because, you know, I always think about those people that are on the corner at the traffic light and don't know whether to go right or left.
Yeah. And
said, let me call real fast. And then prompt this, prompt that, prompt this, you know what? They're not going to like me.
Yes.
So I don't want to discourage people, or it should be used as a benefit.
Yeah.
And I do believe maybe it's 30% of the clientele would rather do that today. I think that's just going to keep growing and growing and growing.
Yeah. And as AI catches up to be as very good in terms of instructions. And
because think about it, we don't have social skills today.
Yeah.
It's only technologically skills.
Yeah.
You know, my children, you know, I say children, they're in their 30s, but they'll text me and then I call them right back and they don't answer the phone. And I'm like, you know, I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to call AT&T and get rid of the bill. You want to run your own thing? Run your own thing. But if I call you, pick up the damn phone.
Yeah.
Well, I'm busy. I'm not. Well, you texted me.
Same thing with my son. He'll rarely text me. If he does text me, and then I immediately figured, now he's available, let me call. Like, oh, what? Like, you know, I also have a busy job. I run a company, you know, but then, you know, anyway.
So I want AI. I believe Zenoti is the company to take me there. I just think we need to be very, very respectful of how much people are going to use it, when they're going to use it, how they're going to use it, because I want them to love it, not dislike Pyure because of it.
Yeah.
The way I disliked the hotel because of it.
Yes, totally agree. So thank you, Luca, for making the time. It's been wonderful talking to you, more because of how much I learn every time I talk to you, how grounded and you speak from your heart in terms of whatever you mean. And you're pretty... even though, you know, in spite of all the success, you're very humble in terms of questioning every small thing that you run into and, you know, sharing how you feel, and not, I'm sure it gives people around you more confidence that, you know, when they work with you. So anyway, it's been a pleasure for me to be able to talk to you and to get to know you.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
Growth Diaries is brought to you by Zenoti.